Hello everyone, this is going to be a tutorial on how to preserve your 4K Blu-rays. So this will also be compatible with Blu-rays and regular DVDs as long as you have the right ingredients. So the stuff that you're going to need today is you're going to need a server or some sort of spare computer that already has a flavor of Linux. I have a computer behind me over there that has Ubuntu server on it, and we're going to be using that to preserve all of our DVDs. Going to need a 4K compatible drive. So out of the box, this doesn't actually work with 4K. And what we're going to do is going to flash this so it is actually able to read 4K DVDs. And then we can hook it up to the server, and then we can like automatically rip things without having to do too much. This video is going to show you how to, one, flash your drive, how to source the drive and how to flash the drive, and also how to set up the software on your server so you can go ahead and get this process started. I've already made tons of videos that include Ubuntu server on it. Relatively simple, but you do need to have a flash drive and another computer you can actually burn Ubuntu onto, and then you can actually just put that on a spare computer and you're all good to go. First, we're going to flash the drive. I'm going to plug this in and show you that it doesn't work. This is a 4K version of the Batman, which out of the box, this is not going to work with. What I have to do is actually flash it, and after flashing it, you can actually rip stuff. And the way that this works, so I'm going to flash this on one computer and then use it on another computer. Flashing is the process of overwriting the operating system that actually exists on the drive. Since that's not dependent on another computer, you can actually just plug this into any computer where it's compatible and it will work. So we'll go ahead and flash this, and then we will plug it into the other computer and test that it works. So let's go ahead and get this started. The first thing I'm going to show you is how to source these drives. So they can be around like $80 to start. So just be of mind, you will need a drive, like a specific drive. You don't need to get it new, but it is like a specific drive. So I'll put the links and all the resources in the description. What you can do is you're going to go to this page. The software is basically based off of software called MakeMKV, which allows you to burn rip disks rather. The software we're going to install on the server actually uses this to make everything happen. Effectively, what we're going to be able to do is automatically rip movies without having to touch it. If you have the proper drive, then you actually literally don't need to hit the eject button. Recommended UHD, Ultra HD drives to get. The one that I have is the LG16NS40. You can get any one of these drives. It's a whole rabbit hole getting into this, so feel free to look into it. There's Reddit threads also as well. What I did was I got my drive from eBay. You just have to make sure that it's compatible. Once you've gotten your drive and you're ready, you can go ahead, and also on this page is software that you need to download on Windows. So you can flash on basically any operating system, but the easiest is going to be Windows. So I highly recommend Windows, and it does a lot of things for you thanks to tools that were developed for this. So it's a tool called SDF Tool Flasher, which actually will allow you to flash your drive. First thing you're going to do is read the firmware, which just means you will basically preserve the operating system that's on the optical drive, and it will save it automatically. So just hit start. It does it itself. This is hands-free. Once you do this, you are done. Like, it'll automatically do it. You're good. Now you will write the new operating system. And again, this will be a link that you can go to. There's a pack that is included in the thread that I had shown earlier, and it will actually give you a folder full of firmware that you can use for ripping. I need to figure out which one I need because I do not know off the top of my head. The one that I need, it shows it right here. Recommended firmware to flash. I have a 16NS40, and then we're going to go to 16NS60 1.02. Okay. So we will do write firmware, LG desktop, 1660. Here it is. So this is the firmware that we need. We go ahead and open that up, and then we're going to write. This is the first time I've done this. I've never done this before. Hopefully I don't break this thing. Oh, All right, we are now done. I think we can test this. I'm gonna use make mkv to see what the drive is coming up as. Okay, it looks like it's flash because it updated here. So right here is what it looks like pre-flash. And then now, if I were to reopen make mkv, which you won't have to do this. This is just a way we can check that everything is kosher. You can now see it is patched. We have different information, and I actually successfully patched it. Now we know that the drive is ready to be plugged into the server, and we can go ahead and start flashing things in the future. We just have to install the software that's called ARM, automated ripping machine or automatic ripping machine, and then it will do everything for us. We're just gonna go ahead and get that set up right now. Future Josh here. So I was working on this tutorial, and when I originally went through it, actually the application broke. The version of the application for some reason just didn't work. So it is now fixed and we can continue the tutorial. But if you're like, why is this different? That's why. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. What you need to do is you need to SSH into your server. I have done so here, but after you're done with that, we can get started with installing ARMS on the server. I have the commands open on my other monitor, and I will leave the article with the instructions on how to do this in the description, but I'll also have the commands pretty readily available in the description as well. First thing we're gonna do is make sure we have this program that will allow us to see the drives that are connected to our computer or server in this case. So we're gonna do, it's sudo apt install wget, and then also lsscsi. Wget allows us to download files from the internet, and other application allows us to see what drives are connected to the server. So I'm gonna go ahead and paste that in. All right, so I already installed it, so it's like, you already got everything clear. All right, so now we need to see what is connected to our server. We have this is the drive. This is the 4K drive, and you want to take note of these two, I guess, drive names, SR0 and SGO. And then this is the boot drive. So the next thing you're gonna do, my thing is whenever I want to download some file for a project, I always make a named folder. So I made a folder called ARM. You just do this with mkdir ARM, and then cd into that jaunt. And then you're gonna go ahead and download the script for Docker setup here. I'm gonna go ahead and clear, and then we can go ahead and do this. So you go ahead and we get this, and it will download it to your server. And then after that, you're going to want to chmod it so it's actually executable. So plus X Docker setup and hit enter. I already did this, so nothing's gonna happen. All right, so after you're done with that, you're gonna go ahead and run Docker setup. So all you have to do is, you could do this and then Docker setup, and then you hit tab to complete, and then you can hit enter, and it will set up everything. I believe I broke everything down, so I'm gonna go ahead and sudo that. So it's downloading stuff and it's doing some other stuff. I believe it's getting the newest package for the automated ripping machine. It got everything. It says that a lot of the stuff that it was doing is already exists. So we're gonna go ahead and clear. And there's a couple of commands we're gonna run so we can make the later portion of this a lot easier. So let me open up Notepad. We're gonna do id u arm, and that's 101 or 1001, and then you're gonna do id g arm, and that's also 1. And you want to make sure you're taking this down somewhere. So please write this somewhere, either on a piece of paper or somewhere. Put it somewhere. And then we're going to go ahead and do this command, which will show us what time zone our server is set to. You can also just look up time zone, because sometimes if you install Ubuntu server or some flavor of Linux, you might have just UTC, and that might not be preferable. So we just do this command, time date ctl show, and we will get the time zone. So like this, yeah, UTC. Typically I would do America or New York because I'm on the East Coast, but you can do whatever you want. And then you're gonna do this handy little command that I'll explain in a second. So sudo mkdir, and the little P flag allows us to make the parent folder if it doesn't already exist for these folders you're making. And this bracket right here allows us to make multiple folders in the same folder. So this creates 4 different folders. Pretty awesome. And it's all in one line. The last thing we're gonna do, just to make it a lot easier for us, is to sudo chown, and then you're going to replace this with the second value that you had earlier, which mine was 1001, and then there you go. So you do 1001 for the first one. That's going to be for everyone, colon, and then you're going to put the second value that you had, and mine just happened to be 1001. And then you're going to do flag capital R, home, arm, config, and then this is going to prevent something from happening later that is really, really annoying. So yeah. And then what we're gonna do now is we need to edit a file that was created earlier. What we can do with that is we just sudo. Okay, so what you're gonna do is sudo su, so you get the super user. It might ask you to put in your password. You're gonna go ahead and nano home arm start arm container, hit enter, and then you're going to edit some of this stuff. So the number that you got earlier, the first number that I got was 1001, and then the second number you got, you're gonna put 1001, and then you're gonna do the time zone that you want. I think I actually will just go ahead and do, and then for this one, I have these all somewhere else. I have these all written down, so I'm gonna go ahead and read them off. So this is fairly simple, but you still have to do it. Home, arm, and you'll basically do that because we made these folders earlier. Arm, music, home, arm, logs, home, arm, media, home, arm, config. We're gonna go down to these devices. We're gonna go ahead and put the 2 device names that we have. You can, I guess you can keep the extras. I think I don't know if it affects it or anything, but I'll just do the only 2 devices that I have. And you wanna make sure that you preserve these line endings. We're gonna do SG0, SG0. And then privileged, so it can access so your container can access your host's devices. Restart always. This CPU, what do I do for CPU? We could do 234 maybe, or we'll just do 23. And that's a Docker thing. You can erase this line if you don't want to worry about it. This should be good. And then we are going to, since we already are sudoed, we can just home arm start, and it starts everything. In theory, everything's working. We will see in a moment. All right. Theoretically, everything's working. Theoretically. And we can see that it's running, and we're almost ready to go to just start ripping. Okay, so we are going to take the Blu-ray of Batman 4K, and we are going to get this ripping. We're gonna get it ripped. The Batman is now ripping and rolling, quite literally. Sometimes you might get an error, and that's because make MKV can be a little fickly sometimes. But for the most part, this should be fine. You basically can just drop in your disk and go. You can back up your configuration for this application, but honestly, it's not the biggest deal in the world unless you have like a lot of stuff customized for your ripping machine. Other than that, yeah, that's basically it. The article does detail what you might need to back up if you did decide you wanted to back up your config, but other than that, yeah, that's it. Like, you now have a machine where you can rip your 4Ks with virtually no effort. Sometimes the file name rip can be a little bit weird and you'll have to alter it, but other than that, it'll just rip. And then typically if you have like Jellyfin or Plex, it will get all the other information it needs, and it'll be nice and tidy in your library, and it's all good to go. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Appreciate you watching, and if there's any other type of tutorial you want for media stuff or home labbing stuff, also let me know. Thank you.